The Pirates just made a big move with the Red Sox, a five-player trade that sends Johan Oviedo to Boston and brings outfielder Jhostynxon Garcia to Pittsburgh, better known as the Password. Let's talk about what this means for the Bucs next on Locked On Pirates.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Locked On Pirates, your daily podcast for all things Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm Gary Morgan, lifelong fan, former editor over at SteelCityPirates.com, and I've been covering this team since 2019. Big shout out to all my everydayers. And don't forget the Everydayer Club launches this December, so stay tuned for details. Today, we've got a big one. Johan Oviedo is headed to Boston, and the Pirates landed outfielder Jhostynxon Garcia in return. We'll break down the trade. I'll share why I'm thrilled about this move, and we'll answer some of your questions about Mitch Keller, Rule 5 targets, and the pitching philosophy under a new coach. Let's get into it. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. First things first, let's talk about the trade itself and what each side is getting. Let's see. The Pirates and Red Sox announced a five-player trade Thursday evening. Johan Oviedo, lefty reliever Tyler Samaniego, who was just added to the 40-man, and minor league catcher Adonis Guzman go to Boston. Coming back to Pittsburgh are rookie outfielder Jhostynxon Garcia and an A-ball pitching prospect Jesus Travieso. Boston needed a 40-man spot, so they DFA'd Cooper Criswell. Pittsburgh's roster now sits at 39. Oviedo is the big name leaving. He is 27, 6'6". When he's healthy, he's been a solid back-end starter. He gave the Pirates 177 innings in 2023 with a 4.31 ERA. But command has always been a little bit of an issue for Johan. After Tommy John surgery in 2024 and a lat strain early in 2025, he finally returned in August and posted a 3.57 ERA over 9 starts. The stuff looked incredible. 95 plus fastball, nasty slider, good curve. The walks still brutal. 13.5% walk rate. He didn't pitch into the sixth inning once. I think a lot of that was to be expected and part of his prescribed ramp up coming back from Tommy John and the oblique, or the lat for that matter. But on the other side, Garcia is the centerpiece for Pittsburgh. He's 23 next week. He's a right-handed bat. And Baseball America ranked him number 6 in Boston's system. I've seen him ranked as high as number 3 by some outlets. They call him the Password, obviously because of his name. He's got legit power. 21 homers last year with a 267 batting average, 340, 470 slash line across AA and AAA. Downside, he strikes out. 29% K rate, and he chased over 35% of pitches out of the zone. But the bat speed and raw pop are real. He can play center. In a pinch, he's probably better as a corner outfield, but he can definitely play center. He's athletic enough. Pirates get to control Garcia for 6 years. He's got 2 minor league options left, so if he needs more seasoning, which I think he might, no problem. Quick notes on the other guys in the deal, just because. Tyler Samaniego, 27, in January. Solid AA numbers, 308 ERA, 28% K rate, low walks. Boston might use him in the bullpen as early as this year. But he was just added to the 40-man. A little bit of a surprise that he was added to the 40-man. Again, a name that I hadn't even considered before we went into that period of time. But one thing I would just like now, because we have a little more information, it's important to point out, sometimes something like this, this deal could have been in the works a minute ago. And it could have been that they were discussing different names, and this guy was like a borderline, like we may want to leave him exposed to the Rule 5. We may not want to leave him exposed to the Rule 5. And because there was some surface level interest in Boston as making him one of the pieces, Pirates kind of wanted to maybe make sure that they had him on the roster still so they didn't have to go through the exercise of finding secondary pieces to make a deal like this come together again. Just a possibility as to why he was added to the 40 man with relatively little buildup to it. Didn't hear too many people talking about that possibility before it happened. Adonis Guzman, listen, just drafted in the 5th round, plus arm, some pop, long-term catcher project. Really, even if that's a loss for the Pirates, it won't be felt for years. Classic lottery ticket. Jesus Travieso, 18-year-old righty, signed out of Venezuela. Good strikeout numbers in low A, but still very raw. And again, here you are looking at another lottery ticket. 18 years old, though, to be in low A when you were signed out of Venezuela is not a bad thing. 18 getting to low A is usually a pretty good sign that you're at least one of those international signings that's going to progress through the system a little bit more. So maybe a little bit of a lottery ticket plus we might be able to call Travieso, but I would be lying if I sat here and pretended to tell you that I've scouted him or anything. I haven't. Just looked at his numbers, just read up on him a little bit. I personally think this is just easily classified as a lottery ticket. The two main swaps are Garcia and Oviedo. I'm going to get into my personal feelings about it in the next segment, and we'll talk through some of that. As far as Boston goes, I think this makes a lot of sense for them. It gives them more depth. Oviedo's got a chance to like get into their rotation, but they don't have to use them in their rotation, and I wouldn't be entirely surprised to find out that their motivation was more of a bullpen sort of thing. They really struggled with somebody that can handle length out of the bullpen, especially from the right side. They need help in the back end of their bullpen outside of Adolis Chapman. They need help. So I can see Johan Oviedo helping them in a couple different ways, and he's a good bridge player. They've got a lot of options in their rotation too, and I know they're trying to fortify it behind what they've got going on there, but I just think this is probably for them a good chance at an upside signing. For the Pirates, I think we were going to have to worry about his innings a little bit this year. I know we've touted what he has been able to do in the past and what he got done, but you're still only a year removed from that Tommy John. You're not going to push him all the way back up to 200 innings. So he wasn't going to be common innings eater again this year, no matter what. But I think 150 innings is roughly expected if you were going to make him a starter. If you're going to make him a bullpen arm, then hey, you're going to get what you get. You're going to get a guy that throws some pretty mean pitches, but he's going to walk some guys too. And I'm not 100% sure that's going to be as palatable out of the bullpen. Bottom line, there was some question marks about Oviedo, right? I mean, again, I'll talk about my feelings in particular, but let's talk about the rotation in particular, because we had Johan Oviedo, I think, penciled in for sure into this rotation. Almost everybody went, okay, it's Skeens, Keller, Oviedo, and then some combination of kids, right? Like Bubba Chandler, Mike Burrows, Braxton Ashcraft, Harrington, Barco. You could go through all that list of different guys it could be, but you had Oviedo as one of them. Well, now you don't. Now you don't. You also don't have the injury concern. You also don't have to worry about that now. And you also moved off of a guy that you only have 2 years of control of. I think that's something that a lot of us kind of forget. Like that injury cost a lot more than just the equivalent of Oviedo missing a season. We lost a year of control of a young player too, right? A lot of upside there, but you were going to get forced into a decision on Oviedo relatively soon if you're the Pittsburgh Pirates anyway. You're either going to have to extend him, take him to his last a couple years of arbitration, or you're going to have to, trade him. That was going to happen one way or another. I think you'll see them make a very similar decision on a lot of guys that start coming up into those arbitration years. Not shocked to see Oviedo moved. If anything, I kind of thought they might want to hold on to him this year just to make him more valuable heading into 2027 offseason, because I think, you could consider trading him with those 2 years of control left, after he had laid down a little more tape that he was healthy and really ready to go and really a contributor. That said, maybe the Pirates didn't think so, and maybe they don't value the extension aspect of things as much as they used to. And by extension, I'm not talking about extension of contracts. I'm talking about extension down the mound. Oviedo was in the 98th percentile for extension, and Bailey Falter was in the 99th percentile for extension. These were really important factors that the Pirates were really seeking out in pitching, especially pitching that they acquired, and it helped. But now they've got a new pitching philosophy, and I'm not 100% sure that it's going to be quite as focused on or important. They moved one of their only last poster children for it, though. I'll say that. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to pick up talking about really my feelings on this move, and we'll see if we can't work through maybe why it's got such a perma smile on my face, huh? NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans cheering on your team together. Getting tickets, though, that can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout, apps checking you out of your login, and you forget the password, and Apple won't recognize your face. Ugh. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by Game Time Guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. If you've got friends like I do, you can't plan events in advance. You can't say, hey, we're all going to get together on this date and go to this baseball game because little Johnny's baseball game popped up, or Tommy's hockey game popped up, or I got invited to golf over here. Game Time solves that, because an hour or two before the game, you can call your buddies, blast out a text message to everybody, say, who wants in? I get the block of tickets right now. Head over to Game Time. You're going to get them cheaper, you're going to get them faster, and you're going to be able to get them last minute. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Thank you so much for making me your first listen every single day. You everydayers, the comment crew, the folks who email and DM, this show's engagement is incredible, and that's because of you. Thank you so much. No matter when I post a video, you guys are all over it, and the numbers are so consistent. You guys are definitely hammering it every time. Thank you so much. So I have wanted the password for a couple years now. I saw him in spring training back in 2024, and as Boston's outfield kind of continued to crowd over the last couple years, I kept thinking, man, if there's any way we could pry him loose. I mean, I probably have offered 7 or 8 different players to Boston in my head for him. This is the kind of move that the team needs to execute. Take a shot on a controllable bat with upside. Is he perfect? No. The strikeouts are scary, and he might need time in AAA, but the power is very real. The ceiling is higher than, well, Spencer Horwitz or Nick York, who they got in previous deals a lot like this. So, I mean, I think that I think that overall this is a good target. Password is somebody that I think has a very good chance to be a major league player. For once, too, they've acquired somebody that I don't think is going to be limited by defense. This guy can really play all three of those outfield positions, which means if there's an opening, he's going to have a chance, right? And this also clears up something I was very worried about, which really was the only backup center fielder really was Jhostynxon. So Garcia kind of becomes another backup center fielder and from the right side, which I think is important. I mean, you could see him right away step in as a platoon option for O'Neal Cruz if you decide that he can't hit lefties, which they may. You know, he could spell Brian Reynolds. He could play left field. He could start in the minors. He really could. I'm not saying that he's 100% solution here. And I think that's probably what's super important for us to talk through before we go too much deeper here. This is one trade, guys. This is not meant to fix everything. No one trade would. Something had to be first, though. And I think that's why I just kind of get so frustrated when I see the initial knee jerk to some of these things like, well, we still need blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I know. I know. But like when you like grow roses, take the time to smell them and don't think about the fact that you grew them in manure. You know, like you have to take what you get. And you have to take it as it comes, and you can't do everything all at once. You just can't. This move was smart. This is I think, a really good shot at a really good player. And I think he has the kind of power that you definitely need, and he's close to the league. That too is important. Just this one acquisition has kind of changed the feeling of the offense that's close to this league right this second the Pirates possess. Now you got Connor Griffin. Now you got Garcia, Valdez. Termar's probably not all that far away. You know, Brannigan is another guy that you probably think can make it here sometime in 2026 and contribute offensively. So the Pirates have, I think, increased their depth in the right places here. It's important that I think Garcia should not be seen as like a drop-in starter. I would love the Pirates to still go out and get another qualified left fielder minimally. And I think part of the reason for this is, listen, I think we were borderline that they should get two anyway, right? Because part of us wanted to move Reynolds to DH. And if you want to do that, well, you're going to need to have a couple different outfield options. I still think the Pirates are going to be in on some free agents. I think we're going to be for sure looking for a left fielder in free agency still. I don't believe that's going to be a Tommy Pham. I think especially now with Password being the acquisition, what was already a very left-handed leaning wish list for the Pirates is going to become even more left-handed leaning. Like the outfielder they get clearly has to be a left-hander now. Or even if they end up not being able to find an outfielder they like and have to like compromise and get a DH instead, I think we should feel pretty confident that it's going to be a left-hander. And does this take Mitch Keller off the table is probably a big question that I think people are asking. Now, you guys know if you listened yesterday, I already had this Keller trade kind of like falling off of the realm of possibility. I don't think the math works, and internally, I've heard they don't think the math works. This, if I had it at 95% yesterday, this trade was the 5%, guys. This was the one that took it completely off the table for me. I think that they cannot afford to move Mitch Keller now. In fact, I think Johan Oviedo represents the very last of the supposed major league starters that they can actually move. I think if you're going to move more pitching depth, it's got to be actual depth. It's got to be prospect level. Okay. So you're talking like really anything under Bubba. And I think you have a possibility there. But I just don't think that you're going to take too much more depth away from your starting rotation Seems to be their threshold too. They'll do one a year, right? They did Ortiz last year, and for Horowitz, which I think has worked out fabulously and will continue to bear fruit for some time. I think this one's got a good shot to follow in its footsteps. Is Garcia the corner outfield move? I already touched on that a little bit. I doubt it. I really do think they'll add another bat before opening day. Again, they still have that money to spend. This did not change that. This didn't change that at all. So we're going to keep talking about this, obviously, but Monday's episode, we're going to really dive into this. My buddy Ed Hand, who covers the Red Sox, he's going to join me to break this down from Boston's perspective. And we'll talk a little bit just about the major league scene in general, because Ed keeps very good track of the free agent market. And I just want to have a fun talk with my buddy and see what he thinks of things. He's helped me tremendously to understand the password as far as a player goes and the way he's developing, and kind of kept me from being afraid of some of the scary numbers, honestly. But he just didn't have a path in Boston. So it made total sense to move him. I'm kind of surprised they didn't decide to move one of their bigger pieces like Duran or whatever. Maybe they're not 100% sure about who's going to really come out of that group either. You know, I'm not 100% sure that they believe in everybody that they've got. And they've got Tristan Casas coming back. They don't know 100% what they're going to do there. So Boston's still got some other questions to answer. Might even be able to talk to him about some other potential targets the Pirates could look at there. And I don't necessarily mean another outfielder. I think if they were going to get that done, they'd get that done. That would have been done in this deal if they were going to do it. I think, we're probably done partnering up with them on big outfielder trades. But they do have some reliever needs. We've got some overflow still, and there's some other interesting pieces that we might be able to mine from them. Let's wrap up with a couple AMAs today in segment 3 when we come back. I don't want to make the whole thing about this Garcia Oviedo trade, but suffice to say, I think it's a good move for the Pirates. We'll dig into it a little bit more. We'll let the weekend be our guide as far as other news that comes. But Monday, the plan is we're going to talk to Ed Hand. We're going to get you more information. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift. A receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into the moment. For instance, I think this weekend, the Steelers and Ravens have an over-under set at like 43.5. And the way the Steelers have been scoring, that seems unlikely unless Baltimore scores all of those. So just, hey, think about it. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked in every snap. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, so you can too. Hey, welcome back to Locked On Pirates. Make sure you're following me on socials if you aren't. GaryMO2007 on X. You can find me, Gary Morgan, on Facebook, Pirates Fan Forum on Instagram, Locked On Pirates, anywhere. Comment right here on YouTube. I throw these AMAs in all the time. I don't always formally announce I'm doing an AMA show or whatever. You ask questions, I gather them up. When I get enough interesting to fill a segment, I do it. So quit waiting for me to tell you and just pop it in YouTube or find me on socials and hit me with a question. I'll include you if it's a good question. Let's see. First one I got here is the Roll 5 draft. This person in particular has Reggie Crawford from the Giants, big lefty, former two-way guy. He proposes that you would stash him on the IL and ease him into long relief, and that could work. It could work. And listen, I've already kind of told you guys I don't think the Pirates are going to be involved in the Rule 5 draft at all. I think they could have some players taken, but there aren't any that I'm all that concerned about. I guess that's why I haven't spent a lot of time talking about it. Mostly because the guys that could get taken, I kind of wouldn't care if they did. I just don't think that they have anybody unprotected that I'm all that scared about losing. And as far as going out and getting Rule 5 players, I understand why a Pirates fan would think that it's a yearly thing. It just shouldn't be here. With what the Pirates are attempting to do right now, giving a roster spot to somebody that you have to hide in any way, shape, or form, not smart. Now, your proposal makes some sense, but what you're doing is trying to steal talent. Basically, you're doing what we did with what was the guy's name? Was it Soriano? I want to say that he pitches for the Angels right now. So I apologize if it's not off the top of my head, but we picked him up in the Rule 5, and he was recovering from Tommy John, hit him on our roster all year long, and then come around the next year, couldn't keep hiding him because they needed spots for other people, and then the Angels ended up taking him back. We basically just babysat him for a year. I'm not 100% sure that makes a lot of sense. I think the Pirates are in a place where they need to add for sure talent, not try to steal talent, not as much. I think you'll see them be more active in the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft, if anything, trying to steal some lefty pitchers that they can throw into their system for relief options. But I think that's about as far as I'd take it. And I'm not foolish enough to think that I can go through that list and point out guys that they should grab. I'd rather just see what they do and break it down later. So that's probably how I'll handle it. Yeah, I wish I could give you more, man, but I just can't get inspired to really dig into this, if only because I just do not see this as a Rule 5 situation for this team. I don't see there being a good answer in Rule 5, and I don't see this team being in a position where they can pick up a pitcher that's going to be better than what they could roster, or at least even have a shot at being better at what they can roster this year. I just don't. Again, your suggestion has merit. Reggie Crawford looks like a decent player. The injury thing is real. You really could get a free player there. So I see it. I just don't think this is the year to play that game if I'm the Pirates. Personally, I just don't. New pitching coach. Will the philosophy change? Are they going to start doing more pitch to contact, keep counts down, maybe let our guys go deeper into games? What are they going to do? Yeah, I mean, I think you're going to see a little bit more willingness to let guys stretch if things are going really well, or there's been a particularly seamless ramp up to the back end of a game where a guy just hasn't struggled really. And despite what his pitch count looks like, or despite how many innings he's already gone, he just looks strong enough for the moment to go out again. I think you're going to see Murphy a little more willing to do that sort of stuff. I don't believe, nor have I heard anybody say that there was going to be a philosophy change. In other words, I don't see them coming in here and trying to turn everybody into pitch to contact pitchers. It's funny because Paul Skeens probably would like to become a little bit more of a pitch to contact pitcher. He's mentioned it several times. So you might see some guys alter their game and try to become a little bit more of that. But I think it'll be more in an effort to get deeper into games, to last a little longer, to see if they can get in and out of trouble faster, get more double plays. I think you're going to see guys challenge themselves to maybe pitch to contact a little more, but I don't believe it's going to be an overall team philosophy. I haven't heard that, and I haven't seen that. I've watched Houston enough to not believe that that's what they're trying to do. There's a lot of strikeout pitchers on that team too. So yeah, I don't think so. I think Murphy's really mostly just about trying to find an extra gear for some of these pitchers. That Don Kelly felt there was an area basically that they hadn't explored as far as like pulling talent out of some of these kids. And I think it's really important when you're trying to develop your team, and most of the pitching staff has been developed internally. It's important that you feel like you're squeezing every ounce of talent out of them that you possibly can. Paul Skeens is going to do that sort of stuff himself. Guys like that. To a degree, Bubba Chandler is going to do things like that by himself. He's got that kind of head on his shoulders too. Jared Jones, another guy. Jared Jones is also stubborn and will try to overthrow. And I think that's where Bill Murphy needs to really kind of become the better angel on the shoulder of some guys. Sometimes that's probably the best thing a pitching coach can do, is just advise a guy to stay in his lane, stick with his game, believe in what he was practicing, as opposed to trying to overlay some kind of overarching theory of how to do everything on these guys. I have not seen that in Houston's history. I don't see that in Bill Murphy's history. I don't see that in Don Kelly's history. Frankly, he doesn't seem like that kind of coach either. And since I really do believe that this was his hire, don't get me wrong, he's not the one that came up with the list. Somebody handed the list to him, and he interviewed with other people that, obviously set this up. It's not like I think Don Kelly's out there unilaterally doing everything himself to fill his coaching staff. But I do believe he has pretty good input in on the final decision, if not the final decision. And they really seem to be letting him form his own coaching staff entirely. I don't believe that Don Kelly's got that in him either, overlaying any kind of philosophy over any one segment of the game. So I don't think so. I think you can just look for maybe a little bit more of a stretching, a little bit less fear of ups and downs for guys, maybe the rigid adherence to bullpen arms only going 2 times in a row can be lifted. Maybe for certain guys it can be lifted, and for certain guys it won't be. I think basically it's just, let's be independent and see these guys as individuals. Let's stop making roles that affect everybody. That's all. That's what I think Bill Murphy's going to do. That's it for today's Locked On Pirates. Big trade, big implications, and a lot more to come this offseason. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Remember, we're serious about Pirates baseball because somebody has to be. Let's go Bucs.